Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Fix. Now today I'm going to be doing a Q&A. You guys asked the questions, I'm going to answer them. I got around, I think, 20 questions, and let's get started. So first up we have Frank the Comic Noob, who, if you guys have not checked out his videos, it is awesome. It's nice to see, and it's refreshing to see a new guy coming into comics and seeing how he just is so enthralled by what DC, Marvel, and Image is doing. Some good stuff. You're doing some great stuff, Frank. So, now we got the question, what do you think about Nova, and why didn't you pick up the first issue? So, Nova, I did read him in Annihilation. I do have a Marvel Ultimate Pass. It's the Marvel's way of Netflix, where you can go and read all these different comics, just pay a monthly subscription. I've been doing that. I read Annihilation. It was freaking awesome. But with Nova and Jeff Loeb, I believe is who's the guy who's writing it, I don't really like his writing, even though I did hear that first issue was pretty damn good and everyone was surprised that this was a Jeff Loeb book. So that's the reason why I didn't pick it up. It's just because it was Jeff Loeb, and I had enough comics during that week. Last week I had like 16 comics, so I was just like, I could pass on that one until it's probably cheaper in Comixology. Because a lot of things I've been doing is you guys have been seeing, oh hey, you got a lot of DC, but like really little Marvel. Well, I do read Marvel, but I read it in digital form. Whenever I have a day where I don't have no comics to read, I'm just like, oh, what the hell am I going to read? I want to read something. I'll go to Comixology, read a couple issues. Like I'm going to be doing a review of the first story arc for Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. So look for that a little bit later. So I am reading Marvel, but just not in the floppy form. And it's also a way to kind of save space. Because if I bought everything I wanted right on day one, God, my room would be filled with comics. But is that a bad thing? I don't think so. So now we got a second question by Striped Shirts Lesbians. Like the name. Okay, number one. What comic officially got you into comics? So, what got me into comics was my grandma. I live in California. She lives in Oregon. And we would go to her house during the holiday seasons, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and I think it wasn't New Year's, it was the 4th of July. We would always go over to her house during like those 3 holidays. And she bought me a book when I was about 5 or 6. And what was that book? But The Death of Superman. And I have that book right now, and you know, the one thing bad about it is that it's not in prime condition. It's really bad condition. But I would go to her house, and every single time I would go to her house, I would look so forward to reading that book. Just seeing all the awesome artwork in there, and just the death of Superman. And the funny thing is at that time, I thought Superman was really dead because I did not have any of the other issues leading up to his basically resurrection. So all I known for a long, long time was that Superman was dead. So that was a comic that officially got me into comics all those long time ago. And it was cool though because I would go to her house and she would have my dad's old comics. Now she wouldn't let him get the Marvel stuff. Well, there's a couple Marvel. There's a couple Doctor Strange issues. I think we had the first 5 issues of Doctor Strange, and those ones are actually in really good condition. And they had a lot of the Mickey Mouse comics, and I remember going there and reading all those, and it was just a damn good time. And there was a Conan. I remember she wouldn't let him get any of those Marvel comics or something, a lot of them, but he had Conan comics. I wonder if he's, as a little kid, would kind of sneak those in. So we got those. Those are like the books that got me into comics. Just going to my grandma's house and being like, oh, I get to read all these comics. If the second question he asked, if money was no object, what one comic would you buy? I'd probably go for X-Men #1, but I know you tend to lean toward DC more. Just want to know which book I would choose. If money was no option whatsoever. It's funny though. I would not actually go with DC, but with Marvel. And it would be Spider-Man. And it would be that I would love to have the death of Gwen Stacy issue and the death of Captain Stacy. I would love to have those two books. I mean, those two, the death of the Stacys was such a cornerstone for who Spider-Man is that I would just love to have those issues. I mean, those two would be awesome to have. Now, Sleepy Reader asks, he has 3 questions. What do you read your digital comics on? Well, I read it on this. Sometimes I'll be at work and I'll be just like, I'm bored. So what would I do? Go and read something on that or read something on my computer. I wish I had a tablet or something like that, but I don't. And I really need to go get one. Probably with my tax return, I'll go and buy myself one. Or just actually get myself an HD television. It sucks right now. Right now, my HD television that I had, I moved to my new place. Couldn't take my HD television with me because it was my dad's. So I have now this like 10-year-old TV that, yeah, doesn't really work with the games I want to play. Okay, the second question. What do you get many or any trades? How would you compare reading experiences between floppies, trades, and digital? Now, digital. When I read digital comics, it's different. It's like when the floppy, you have something in your hand and you're reading it, but with a digital just it feels different. And it doesn't feel like you could just get as engrossed into the story as you could have if you had the floppy in your hand. It just feels, I don't know, it's strange to explain, but it just feels really different. And I don't know, maybe just the smell of the paper or just the way that the paper feels when you're just flipping it. But there's just something that doesn't really grab you as much. Now, with the trades, I don't really go towards the new trades because sometimes I have it in floppy form, but I go more towards the older stuff. Watchmen, Batman the Dark Knight, any of those type of classic comic books that I know I can't get in floppy form, and I know that they're better read in trade. That's how I go for those ones. I don't really go for the new DC ones. And if I'm going to buy a book that I already have in floppy form, it's going to usually be in an omnibus. That's the way I would buy it. And especially now with DC and Marvel, they've been doing a lot of omnibus stuff. And if there's a writer that I really like and gets all collected all his work, which if Jeff Johns' work was collected with his Green Lantern books, that would be freaking amazing. And it'll be so long. But that's usually what I do with my trades. And I like reading a trade if it's like Superman Earth 1, where I know I can't get it anywhere else. So I hope that answers the question. But it's really interesting, though, just to look at the disconnect that we have with compared to reading a floppy form of a book and compared to reading on your computer. But I like, though, that on the digital form, it's so easy. Just you buy a comic, it's right there, and you don't have to put bag and board it. You don't have to put it in its box, and it's not always there. It's always just digital form. You just go on your computer, bam, bam, there it goes. But I just wonder, would there be a day where everything gets deleted and DC would be like, oh God, we're sorry, we lost everything, and we're just screwed. So that's one of the worries thing that I have. And I also went and read on digitally was when they had 99-cent sale for some Superman books. They had Red Sun, the Mark Waid book. I read that one on digital. That was awesome. Alright, third question. What supervillain would you be if you were evil? If I was evil, who would I be? Well, If I was evil, who would I be? Huh. I don't know. That's a really hard question. Because I'm not an evil guy. It's like if I go and play, I don't know, Mass Effect. I tried to be a dick. I can't be a dick. I'm a nice guy. So, oh yes. All right. There's a Grant Morrison villain he just created in the New 52 called Lord Vindictive, but he spells his name really, really strangely, and you just don't know how to, pronounce it until I went on to a website that said this is how it's pronounced, and it's Vindictive. That's who I would be. I mean, he's just really fucking with Superman, but in just like this, he'll hit you at any point in your time stream. So I guess that would be mine. I really need to think it more through, but I can't be a dick. I'm sorry. It's just the whole thing. I'll be playing a video game and it'll be like, do you want to do a bad thing or do you want to do the good thing? I always go to the good thing. Maybe that's the way I've just been, made. So David Raccoonus asks, I got one question. What are your thoughts on the Green Lantern creative team? Now, if you guys did not hear, Green Lantern, Geoff Johns is off the book. He is done telling his epic story. Now, a lot of people use epic, but this one was truly epic. It was 100 plus issues, 9 years, awesome stuff. And Geoff Johns created the world that we know today of Green Lantern. So now we have a new writer team on every single book in the Green Lantern time. We got Justin Jordan, we got Frank Falkoff. No. Oh, what's his name? I have to go look at it. Can't really think of it off the top of my head. But the guy who's writing iVampire is going to be writing Green Lantern Corps and Red Lantern. And then we had the guy who's doing X-O Manowar for Valiant. He's going to be doing Green Lantern, the main book. I am excited for this. It's a new change. Ghost Critic has said a lot of times that he doesn't like how just Geoff Johns doesn't feel like he's as snappy as he once was before, and stories just don't seem that interesting. Now, X-O Manowar, what I've heard about it, it sounds exactly like a Green Lantern Corps book, but just in a different universe. So I think he'll have a great foundation to write these books. And do I think he's going to be focusing on a lot of what the Geoff Johns did? Well, he's going to have to, because the stuff that Geoff Johns did is the foundation as we know it for Green Lantern. And I don't think he's going to shake that up because the foundation is so stable. You just need to add on to it. And maybe throughout the issues, we'll see him building his own empire as well, which would be so cool to see. Green Lantern is definitely one of my favorite DC characters, just all the different Green Lantern Corps books. And I hope that with Joshua Hale Falkoff, yeah, I think that's his name, with him writing Green Lantern Corps, I'm hoping that he goes kind of away from the Guy Gardner and from the Human Green Lanterns and tries to focus more on the Kilowog and the Green Lantern Corps as a whole. That would be so awesome to see different species of the Green Lantern and see their stories. I just hope that he goes that way. I think it'll be a very interesting take and to see a little different take on the Green Lanterns instead of just following the humans and what are they doing. Okay, Running with Comics asks, who do you think is the most overrated superhero? Most overrated superhero in the New 52 or any comic? Martian Manhunter, hands down. I mean, he's the strongest Superman, and he has a telepath of a Charles Xavier, but he's underutilized. And now under Geoff Johns with Justice League of America, if you haven't read that first issue in the end where you find out Martian Manhunter was there all along, you're like, yes, Martian Manhunter was underutilized and overrated comic superhero that's ever been. Okay, 202 Comics Reviews asks, what books actually got you started into comics? Now, as I said, that one of the first books that I read was The Death of Superman. But the one that actually got me into comics was, I still remember today, is that I was a little guy and I go with my friend. I'm either staying the night and at his house, and I remember his mother took us to a comic book shop in Willits. Now, if you haven't heard about Willits before, if you heard about Willits and thinking, where did I hear that from? Well, the start of Lock and Key, where the whole start with the whole killing of the father and all that started out in Willits. So it was so interesting to find out. Just like, he was like, Willits, close to San Francisco. You're like, oh, that's cool. So I was in Willits and just a little kid going with my friend to the comic book store. And it was the 90s. And I remember I picked up, it must have been a Rob Liefeld comic, because I just remember how buffed up everybody was and how gory everything was. And I think it was a Wolverine. And you see Wolverine and he goes into like this store and you just see blood all over the place. And I remember, as my childhood self, thinking to myself, not that that was blood that was smeared everywhere, and Wolverine didn't do this terrible, terrible thing in this store, but it was ketchup. I was trying to tell myself that the blood that we saw on there was not blood, but it was actually ketchup, because it took place in a store, in a food store. So I remember just my childhood self thinking that while reading it. And that's really what got me into comics. You know, it was just the violence at the time, and just me being like, wanting to, you know, my 10-year-old self being like, oh, violence, yeah. But then, later on in life, I was about 16, and I got my driver's license, and my pastor, I go to his house, and I see, hey, he has comics. I start reading them or whatnot there. And he's like, hey, you haven't been to this comic book shop in Santa Rosa? I was like, no, I didn't know. I didn't know anything. You know, because it's been a lot of times past since I've actually been to another comic book shop. And he gives me the address, and I go to this comic book shop. And I've been collecting ever since. I mean, yes, there's been times in there where I'll have like not as much money, so I would more just read the hardcover editions or just the trades. But now with the New 52, it just jumps me again with the whole comic industry. And now I'm here to stay. I mean, the New 52 just opened up my eyes with comics, and yeah. Okay, good question. Okay, now Fat Stacks of Comics asks, dang, are there any DC books that you don't get? Yeah, there are a couple of DC books that I don't get. I don't get Hawkman. I don't get Team 7, the Nuclear Men, or whatever it's called. That book was so fucking dumb. I don't pick up quite a few DC books, but I usually pick up around 10 DC books a week, and there's usually about 14. So there are some DC books that I don't pick up. I should not be picking up Teen Titans, but I still am, just because Teen Titans was the book that I got. My pastor gave me the big old volumes of the new Teen Titans, and that's really what got me into it. And ever since then, I've been collecting Teen Titans, and I don't want to stop, because I love the idea of the Teen Titans. So that's what's up. So there are some, but I also, if you guys remember, at the beginning, I said one of my main goals was to have an emphasis on DC Comics, because I think that they're doing the, not revolutionary, because that's a Marvel term, join the revolution, but they're doing something interesting, and they restarted their whole entire universe, basically. And it let a guy like me who has dabbed into comics actually dive in deep and not felt overburdened by all this continuity. And so with that, I'm able now to read all these different comics or DC Comics and be the guy that people go for info. And so with that, I wanted to be like, okay, Here's my comic fix, and here's DC Comics, guys. If you haven't thought about picking up a certain book, this is how good it is, or this is how bad it is. And I can tell you guys, hey, the water is safe now to come back in. To like Green Arrow, Teen Titans, if ever Scott Lobdell gets off that book. Stuff like that. You know, one of the main focus on my video blog, or just me talking to the camera, talking to you guys, was I want to let you guys know what's good in DC Comics, what's good in Image Comics, and then sometimes I'll pick up a little bit of Marvel, like Superior Spider-Man. I really like the idea of that, and I like the balls that Dan Slott has with changing things up and having a fresh new take on Spider-Man, even though he is Doc Ock, and it's just interesting to see how much fun Dan Slott is having with that story. Alright, so the Dark Knight 40S. That's great news, man. I'll probably be picking up that book, whichever book that was. And here's a question for you. I'm not sure if you mentioned this before, but I'm curious. I know what your favorite and least favorite series or I want to know what your favorite and least favorite series in the New 52 have been. Well, my favorite series in the New 52 would have to be Wonder Woman, just because before the New 52, I did not read any Wonder Woman. I didn't really know where to start, and like when I started reading comics, just buying the floppies and coming in every single Wednesday to the comic book shop, was during the time where Wonder Woman, her big old thing was she got the new costume and now it comes with pants. So I was like, no, I don't really want to read that. And so Wonder Woman has been one of my favorite ones as well. Azzarello has done with the whole mythos of Wonder Woman, because there has been that whole lesbian thing with the whole Amazons, but now he has gone away from that completely, and you've got a little bit more history into who the Amazons are, and it's just awesome to see. And now to have the new gods in there and the whole mythos, it's just awesome stuff. Batman by Scott Snyder, yeah, he's freaking awesome. I remember the first time I ever read a Scott Snyder comic was with Batman Detective Comics, where just James Gordon Jr. are just sitting down at a restaurant, at like a cafe, and they're talking to each other, and how I didn't know what the storyline was going on at the time, but just that conversation, the way that the dialogue was going, was just so awesome. And then to have James Gordon Jr. leave the table, go into the restroom, and then you see a stream of blood coming from the stall. Just awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So Scott Snyder's Batman, freaking awesome. Yeah, those two books, and I'm just looking right now at all the comics that I read. But the most disappointing one is easily Grant Morrison Superman Action Comics. Now, it started off so well, but then it took a dive. And after the first 6 issues, Grant Morrison just started going crazy with everything. And I couldn't really understand what the hell was going on. But I kept on reading because it is Grant Morris, I guess. And I really like the stuff that he's doing with Batman Inc. And I like Superman as a whole, and I was more really curious about where the story was going to go. Because one thing I know about Grant Morris is that he can just go crazy with ideas, but then he can bring it all home and bring it all together. So, most disappointing series, definitely Action Comics. The Ravengers now. Ravengers was one of my surprises of the second wave. And a lot of people were like, hey, what do you think about the cancellation? After reading issue number 7 and 8, I'm done with the series. The writer who was originally on the series left the book, and this new writer came on and went to such a different direction. Because I remember the last issue with the first writer, I can't remember his name off the top of my hand, the way he ended it was such on a cliffhanger where our main hero, she meets this superhero who can look at all the different possibilities of the future, and she sees the Ravengers in their different futures. And she sees that a lot of them are bad stuff. just a little things could change everything. And since then, and she's just like, I am afraid of what my Ravengers can become. Since then, it just went off onto a totally different direction. Now it's following Warblades and Rose Wilson. They're following those two characters, and I'm just like, I don't see the point. And it just was such a... This new writer just seems like he's like, okay, I see what this other writer was doing, but I want to go this way. And it just doesn't work with the story, because I felt like the first writer was on its halfway mark of his story arc and gets taken off the book, and then this new writer goes, I'm going to take a new direction. And I don't really like this new direction. So, Ravengers, one of my least favorite ones now in the New 52, and Superman Action Comics, and Superman just in general. Even though I do believe that Hell on Earth has really kind of setting everything down for, or setting everything together for this whole Superman universe. Alright, so Frank the Comic Noob asks, one question, where do you get your news? Well, alright, so what do I get? Where do I get my comics that I know that are going to be coming out on Wednesday? Go to ifanboy.com and they'll say new comics. You click on the new comics there, and I'll have every single comic that's going to be coming out on Wednesday. And you'll be able to you click on it and say, I want to put this on my pull list, and it'll have the prices on there, and you'll see how many books that you're going to get that week, and it's just so awesome. I mean, they really don't have anywhere in the news category. They have some stuff that they do, but mostly I go there for, this is the comics I'm going to be buying this week, and you can print out your list that you put on your pull, and it's just a really awesome way. You go and give it 1 out of 5 stars, but you can't do the halfway mark. You just can do 1 through 5. And it's just an awesome website. I go to Comic Book Resources for my news, Comic Vine for my news, and for my podcast. The Comic Vine people do some awesome podcasts. And I go to Bleeding Cool for my news. That place is awesome. They just do some great takes on some of the news that's going on. And what's that? Comic book. What is it? Let me see. Newsarama. All right, Newsarama. If you like top 10 of anything, that's what they do. That's the only thing that Newsarama does is top 10 reasons why DC Comics suck. Top 10 reasons why Marvel sucks. Top 10 reasons why DC rocks. That's all they do. So if you like top 10, look no further than Newsarama. So those are where I get mine. And I go to MTV Geek sometimes. There's a lot of different places to get your comic book stuff. But just remember, now with my comic fix, I am doing news type of segments where just like anything that catches my eye with DC Marvel, I'll do like a 3-minute video just telling you guys, hey, look out for this. Okay, next question. Alright, Minutia Minute. Oh, I really miss you, man. I know that you're just so busy, but I hope everything's well. Alright, what was the first comic book you ever read, and why did you pick it up? First comic book I ever read was Superman, and the reason why I picked it up was because it was the death of Superman, and how can you get better than that? I mean, just looking back at it, I do have the first printing of the Death of Superman. But it's in such beat up condition because after all the times I read as a kid, it's not worth anything, but it's worth something to me just because of all the use I got out of it. And it was just so interesting though, just to look back and be like, thinking all those years, is Superman still dead? Because during that time we had the Adventures of Superman the Animated Series, because I was big into those. I was big into Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, and I was wondering, oh, when's the death of Superman going to happen? So yeah, Death of Superman was like my first comic I ever read, and I was like so enthralled by that issue. I would just go to my grandmother's house every single time I would go there, be like, I want to read it. And then she would read it sometimes to me, because It was awesome. What more do you want to see from Marvel now? Well, one thing I want to see less from Marvel now is less double shipping, because the one reason why I will not buy your books on floppy is because they're double shipped, and I just don't have the time or the money to buy all those books. I noticed my stack has been getting bigger because of all those Marvel double shipped books. We have 1 week of the first 3 months of all new X-Men. We have like 10 issues. Well, 10 is a little over dramatic, but I think 6 or 8. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, almost 8 issues. And so it was just like, oh my god, I just can't buy all these comics anymore. So, and then you look at DC Comics, they're so simple. They're like, okay, once a month, this is what comes out. You don't have to worry about double shipping. But that was not what you asked. What do you want to see more from Marvel now? I kind of want to see a little bit more of the Strange. That's what we've been seeing. Superior Spider-Man. Dan Slott's telling a story that's just so strange with Doc Ock being inside the mind of Peter Parker's body. And it's been some fun stuff. And then you got Captain America, who is in Dimension Z, I believe. I've read the first 3 issues, and it's just been so strange and unusual. And it feels something out of the Silver Age. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that. Maybe I should go and check out... I want to check out the Uncanny... I did check out Uncanny Avengers, and that was... Bleh. But... X-Force. Uncanny X-Force. I want to try out that one. Okay. Keep on going. My question pertains to DC Comics. Oh, who is this? Jay Bazooka Ba? Bazooka Rabba? Sorry if I butcher your name. My question permits to the state of DC Comics and film properties. What/how would you like Warner Brothers to create a DC cinema universe? Do you think they should follow the Disney/Marvel model of establishing key characters through solo films, first leading to a huge team-up of Justice League movie, or would you like to see them do something different and jump into Justice League movie right away? Thanks in advance. Okay, so with the Justice League movie, would I be perfectly fine with them going and doing the Marvel type of format? Hell yeah, I would. I would love to see... I already seen my Green Lantern movie, even though it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I have my Batman movie, so the Nolan universe is freaking awesome. But would I like something a little different, something that could ease Batman into a Justice League universe? Kind of. I would like to see a Wonder Woman movie first. I like to see a Wonder Woman movie, kind of like how a Thor movie would be. I would like to see a Cyborg movie. That would be fucking awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. Because he's been one of the most... Yeah, he's one of the most unutilized characters in DC Comics. I would love to see a Flash movie. I think a Flash movie in today's day and age would be just mind-blowing. Maybe to get the guys who did the Matrix trilogy do a... I know. I just talk out that my ass, but that would be kind of trippy to see what they would do with the story. But yes, I would like to see DC Comics do the Marvel format, get the littler movies out of the way, and let us as a moviegoers get introduced into the world of the DC universe, and then go from there. Or I would be fine with them going from a Justice League movie, having them fighting Darkseid, kind of like what they did with the Justice League issue 1 through 6, and having this big old battle and them all coming together to fight this common enemy. And specifically with Aquaman, I would love for the opening scene with Aquaman coming in there, just like in the Justice League comic, where Aquaman, he's fighting the Parademon, and the Parademon comes out of the water, Aquaman comes out there, and you see all these other Parademons coming in, and then as the Parademons are coming in, sharks just jump up out of the water and just crush everything. That would be so awesome. I really want to see a DC be in the cinematic universe. You know, I love watching Marvel movies just because of how much fun they are, and DC needs to do the same thing. Bring the fun back. The Nolan universe, yes, it was awesome, but it just wouldn't fit with the whole DC universe. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see actually DC do the Marvel format, just like how another Disney property now, Star Wars, is going to be doing that format as well. So awesome questions, guys. Lego Man 9899 asks, David, should I read Wrath of the First Lantern? I read Rise of the Third Army, and I didn't like it in the new story. Is the new storyline better? Yes, it's a lot better. First off, it actually feels like a cohesive story now, instead of just all these random things happening with the Rise of the Third Army people being in there for just a couple panels. My favorite line in Green Lantern's Wrath of the First Lantern was when the First Lantern is talking to one of the Guardians. He's like, you know those Third Army you guys had? Boom, they're dead. They were dead in just one panel. Boom, gone. And that he said on there, they were useless and they were just a blip on the dot, you know, blip on the screen. So, yes, go read the Wrath of the First Lanterns. Especially go read New Guardians and see how Kyle Rayner is just awesome. Kyle Rayner is definitely one of my favorite Green Lanterns, the whole Green Lantern universe. Because he was my introduction to the Green Lanterns. All that time ago with Ion, yeah, he was my introduction. He is my all-time favorite Green Lantern. And the last question is again by Lego Man. Why do they call Nightwing Robert in Nightwing issue number 17? Well, the reason why is because Robert is short for Dick, or Dick is, you know, another name for Robert. So, and one of the things with the New 52 is that they were kind of like, oh God, should we call Dick Grayson Robert Grayson from now on, just because of, you know, oh, Dick, and that's a name that's not used anymore, and that's just not really, it's really strange to have somebody named Dick in today's day and age. So what they say, maybe we'll call him Robert. I believe the only person in the New 52 that calls Dick Grayson Robert is Batgirl. I think she is the only one that calls him Robert. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that is the only one that calls him Robert now. Everyone still calls him Dick, you know, or Grayson, but I think she's the one who calls him Robert. So I think that's the reason why we have Robert, or that's the reason why she called him Robert, because that's what she always calls him. Whew! So that's it for this questions and answers video. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun as well. Thank you guys for all the questions. And did you guys like this? Would you guys like to see more of this, or maybe just me just answering some questions at the end of my review videos? Just a couple questions just here and there. What would you guys think? I had fun, and I hope you guys had fun as well. And I'll see you guys next time, and there'll be another edition of the Comic Fix with some reviews of Superman Action Comics issue number 17 and Batwoman Birds of Prey, all coming up probably either today or tomorrow. So, with that being said, thank you guys for all the questions. I love this community. This community is awesome. And if you are thinking, oh, should I join the community? Should I be starting doing videos? Hell yeah, you should. And start doing your videos and just tell us, hey, I'm doing videos now. And we'll go and subscribe to your channel. We love our community, and our community loves us. And we all love comics. So I'll see you guys next time on the Comic Fix.